The next morning, Eragon avoided bringing to mind any of the recent events. They were too painful for him to consider. Book 1, Eragon. Chapter 17, Thunder, Roar, and Lightning Crackle. Welcome to Eragon and Back Again, a podcast where we explore Christopher Paolini's inheritance cycle, one chapter at a time. I'm Darien Smartt.
And I'm Lucy Hart.
And get out your umbrellas and then put them away immediately.
Yes.
It's a storming out there.
Yeah. Such a good storm. I love this chapter.
You love a storm, Lucy.
I love storms. Storms are wonderful.
Lucy, you and I have lived together for going on 5 years next month.
Yes.
And there is not a single time where there is a storm outside, Lucy isn't immediately standing out under the covered porch, just wanting to be as close as possible. The more lightning, the better.
Yes. I'm always upset when I'm at work and it goes off and I'm like, no! And I'm like telling everybody, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go check out the storm real quick, and I run outside.
You just gotta be part of the storm.
I'm like, I just gotta go check it out for like,
Lucy
give me
is
5
a Pisces.
minutes.
She's a water sign.
A water sign, yes. Get the lightning and water. Here we go.
Oh, gosh. Let's not do that.
Not both at the same time.
Let's instead talk about other sparks. Our sparks of inspiration.
Yay.
Lucy, what do you have?
So I have an artist on Instagram who I've been following for some time, and I just love their work so much because it is so funny. Please forgive me. I'm going to butcher this person's Instagram name. I think it is Liu Wei Shui Painting. And it's so good. So what this artist does is sometimes they post up clips of animals being silly or something like this, and then he paints them, and you see them going through their process of painting.
It's in the traditional
Chinese. I think it's Chinese, very with the think of those
the paintbrushes.
And on parchment and stuff where they're dipping in the ink and stuff like that, and they're doing these graceful strokes, and then it zooms out.
Have you seen the beginning of Mulan? It's the beginning of Mulan.
Yeah.
The Disney animated movie Mulan. That is what we're trying to describe here.
Yep, and then it zooms out, and then it's these little chibi characters with the big eyeballs. It's so funny.
So goofy.
It's so good. I love it so much. Ever since I found them, I've been like, yes, I love all of your work. It's so good.
It's very much just the right to embrace being silly, and that doesn't make you any less passionate about your work.
100%. And I think that's kind of where my inspiration comes. Is be silly with your art and enjoy it. No matter what your art is, you are allowed to be silly. You are allowed to have fun with it. And for me, it's I take that in form of fan fiction. I'm fan fiction is something that I can have fun with and not really think about too hard and do all these things. So
yeah, it's really good. I'm really glad you just literally right before we started recording shared 3 of these videos with me.
Yes, I was like, look at these.
So good.
They're
it's
very
so
funny.
good to me. I'm like, girlfriend, need to send them to my girlfriend. I have to share.
Yep.
Joy.
Yep.
My spark of inspiration, slightly less joy, but it is the WGA, the ongoing, as of the time of this recording, maybe by the time this episode comes out, in a couple of weeks, the strikes will have been resolved to a satisfactory manner. It's looking very unlikely right now. So, it's the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes that have been going on in the U.S. for literally months.
Yep.
Literally months. The writers' unions and then the actors' unions have been on strike demanding fair pay and compensation and protections against AI from the studios for the work they create. So many of the things that I find inspiring are the things that these writers and actors create and they pour their heart into. And so I'm really specifically, I saw a post from Adam Conover, who's made famous by Adam Ruins Everything on College Humor and then his own show and podcast. But he's been incredibly vocal on social media, part of the strikes, educating people about the strikes, spotlighting other folks who are leading the strike groups and stuff, and educating people on if you aren't part of these unions, how you can support them. Because we here at Eragon and Back Again support unions. We stand in solidarity for unions, solidarity among the working class. It would cost these studios nothing to pay these people fairly and promise not to replace them with crappy AI that is actually bad for the environment.
Yeah. Oh God.
Listen, side rant, it takes so much water to keep those engines that run the AI cool. it's like a Captain Planet villain.
Yeah.
Bitcoin and these AI things, they're bad for people and bad for the environment. Anyway, so my spark of inspiration comes from the fact that folks value their work so much. Like because these like writers, they aren't writing. Like I listened to a podcast with a host who was a writer. She worked on Infinity Train, amazing animated show that, side note, you can't watch anymore because HBO pulled it from its streaming service. So they wouldn't have to pay the residuals that just go into these people's health insurance. Like, it's this kind of thing that the studios just have done.
Yep.
And she was a showrunner for something. I don't know what project it is. She can't talk about it yet. And now she's not because the strike. And so it is like a financial hardship on people to strike with a union.
Yeah.
But it is a sacrifice that they are willing to make because they value their work so immensely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And recognize, and also are hyper aware that it is valuable. Like, if them not working if people creating didn't matter, then it wouldn't hurt the studios for them not to be creating.
Yeah.
Like, they can't just be replaced. And so it's inspirational to me to see people standing together, unions standing together and demanding, like, that people be treated fairly and valued for the things they create that we love so much.
Yeah.
But that's my, I guess, more serious spark of inspiration, is just seeing folks fight for their work.
Absolutely.
It's
I
very
think
good.
I think that's a really good point, is like, value your work, like value your self-worth.
Exactly. Like, saying that, like, and I think like other industries like book publishing probably could stand to have writers unionized and push back against publishers, because hearing how publishers treat bestsellers is pretty shady too.
Yeah.
Animation, all these other things, pretty. But yeah,
I agree.
And now that we're out of the fictional storm that the creative industry is going through, or the real storm that the creative industry is going through, let's talk about the fictional storm. Yeah. Thunder, Roar, and Lightning Crackle.
Such a good title.
Great
it's
title.
Such a good title.
So good. So weird.
Yeah, I love it so much.
Eragon, Braum, and Saphira begin the long journey across the plains, following the Razak to the city of Yazak. A fierce storm blows in, and Saphira, unable to land in time, is tossed about by the violent winds. Eragon rushes to help her get her wings closed, and they wait out the storm together. Kind of a simple chapter, but I really loved this one.
I really love this chapter as well. And it has to do with the storm.
Yeah, not all that has to do with the storm, just a big part
is the storm, but yes.
One of the first things I underlined is, Eragon's like focusing his energy on, like, he's like, how am I going to kill the Razak? I'll do it with my bow. And just like, credence to Lucy being like, should have just trained him with his bow.
Should have just trained him with the bow. I highlighted that too, because that's, I think, like, I just think it would have been really cool, like, if, like, Braum and Eragon are, they're sparring with their swords and stuff like that, but then also being like, all right, Eragon, we practiced with the sparring, now go shoot your bow.
Yeah, like you're already, like, you need to know hand-to-hand combat, it's important, but you are quite skilled in your bow. Let's hone that. I think the thing is, Braum is not skilled in the bow.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what we actually have here.
I think I'm also very biased, and I think I brought this up too, in, like, archery in general, because, like, whenever I play a game, I'm usually Skyrim. I'm always an archer. Like, I always do that. And I also loved the Ranger Apprentice books. Like, those were my favorite books. One of my top favorite series. Just because how they're said and done. So it's like, whenever there's archery, and I'm like, yes, do the thing. Yes, 100% do archery.
Yep.
But
that's fine. Swords, whatever. It's a fantasy book.
But yeah, so that's interesting too, because it's like he's still leaning towards the bow. He's like thinking about how he's going to kill the Razak. He thinks of his bow. Yeah, because that's what he knows. So, yep.
They start across the plains, and this is something I mentioned in the last episode when we talked about how you brought up the plains, and I had not clocked it, because for me, it really jumps out when they're actually traveling through the plains, and Eragon's thinking about, like, it unnerved Eragon how flat everything was. Yep. And he had spent his entire life surrounded by mountains and hills. Without them, he felt exposed and vulnerable, like a mouse under an eagle's keen eye. Yep. And it's like, yeah, I feel weird when I am in places where there are no mountains. Yep. Like, when I travel, like, last year, I went to Orlando with my family, And while we're on like just the tram from the airport to the rental car place, I'm sitting with my dad, and he's like looking around and stuff, and it's like an outside tram. He's looking around. He's like, swear that there's no mountains.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's so flat out here.
It's weird.
Whereas like I was in New York, and like that was fun as New York. It's tall buildings, so it's a little less weird as long as I'm in like Manhattan surrounded by buildings.
Yeah.
But as soon as we get out and I'm looking around and I can see the horizon, I'm like, there's no mountains. And I am
nothing.
Hyper aware of this fact. And I think that's the thing that like people who don't grow up in a valley surrounded by mountains it's sometimes if you're in the plains and everything's flat, it is like, whoa, flat.
Yeah.
But the acute absence of mountains.
Especially in, like, the distance. Like, you look for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you look up. Like, I remember, like, in our trip, like, I would look over to see the mountains and they weren't there. And you'd be like, what?
Yeah. There's just something about the missing mountains that is... You can't... Someone who doesn't grow up with mountains, you just can't really describe. Because it sounds like such a silly thing. But it is so base.
Yep. I agree. And then that's when they pick up on the Razak's trail.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems they've gone to Yazwak, said Brahm, with a perplexed air. Where's that? Due east and 4 days away. If all goes well, it's a small village situated by the Ninor River. I think that's how they say that. And he gestured at the Anora, which streamed from them from the north. So it's like, I like that too, because like in the very, very beginning of this book, we were given like rivers and mountains and stuff like this, and now we're getting close up and personal with them.
Yeah,
which I think is pretty cool. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And new ones. Yep.
Yeah, and more, Brahm is mysterious because he's like, oh, here's a town I know the name of, they're going that way. And here's another river I know the name of, they're going that way. And it's like, hey, Brahm, you know an awful lot about this geography.
Yep. It's like, are you a map maker too? What's up?
Yeah, what's up? Eragon describes like the worst feeling in the world, chapped lips.
Yes,
lips.
I do really like Eragon decided that it would be the wind that drove him crazy first. And I think that's a really good point because being surrounded by mountains, you don't get the full wind. And now he's experiencing it for the first time. He's like, nope, hate it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And chapped lips. Yep. The worst.
So windy and chapped lips and it's cold and they're forced to shelter out in the open and
it's just the worst.
They're trying to start a fire and Eragon can't partly because he's using sagebrush and it doesn't catch fire.
Yep.
Like other things. It burns, it will catch fire, but not as easily as other things. So it like smolders. And Luce, would you like to describe what happens next?
Yeah. So, and then he goes, so Eragon gets frustrated because I think that's something this is also important is like we've seen Eragon try, fail, and get frustrated and stop.
Does get frustrated and give up. He's got a very fixed mindset.
Yeah. So that's like we kind of see that over and over again. And this isn't an exception. He tries, he fails, and goes, I can't make it burn, especially with this blasted wind. See if you can get it going. Otherwise, dinner will be cold. And I like that. He's like, otherwise, dinner's going to be cold. I'm like, that's a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So Brahm knelt by the bush and looked at it critically. He rearranged a couple of branches, then struck the tinderbox, sending a cascade of sparks into the plants. There was smoke, but nothing else. Brahm scowled and tried again, but his luck was no better than Eragon's. Brissinger, he swore angrily, striking the flint again. Flames suddenly appeared, and he stepped back with a pleased expression. There we go. It must have been smoldering inside.
And then just straight to, they sparred with mock swords while the food cooked.
Yep. And then they ate, and then the day was a monotonous trek of endless plodding.
Mm-hmm. And it's on the third day that we finally get the storm starts to roll in. It's so bad that Brahm's even like, I usually wouldn't go into the storm, but we don't have a choice.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, too, because he makes a good point where it's like, we literally can't take shelter anyway.
Yep.
So it's like you're out in the open and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to get wet one way or another. Might as well just go as much as I can kind of thing.
So they go towards it, and with Saphira, who hasn't been bothering to hide because there's nowhere to hide, so she's just been flying above them this whole time. And it's cool. The description of the thundercloud had an exotic structure, forming a natural cathedral with a massive attached roof. With some imagination, he could see pillars, windows, soaring tiers, and snarling gargoyles. It was a wild beauty.
I love that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Luce, you with your clouds, how you feel about
like
this?
No, like I think that's a really good. I think it's a really good description. I also think it also shows Eragon is imaginative.
Yes, I was gonna say,
and so it really kind of strikes where Eragon looks up and he sees this like massive looming building coming at them, and it also kind of like it also almost puts a scale of how big these things are too.
Yeah.
Like, if it's that big and he can make out the arched roof, pillars, windows, soaring tiers, and snarling gargoyles, like, if it's like, because like you would be able to see snarling gargoyles if you were like maybe standing underneath this cathedral. So it's like you can the how big this is and also how close they are to it is very good. I think A Wild Beauty describes it perfectly.
Yeah, it's very, very strong prose here.
Yep.
And they're hunching towards, the rain starts to hit them, and then...
Or the wind.
Yeah.
The wind comes first.
The gale was almost upon them when Eragon had a horrible thought, and he twisted in his saddle, yelling, both in voice and mind, "Saphira, land!" Brahm's face grew pale. Overhead, they saw her dive towards the ground. She's not going to make it. Because he realizes, actually, it would be incredibly dangerous for Saphira to be in the air right now. But they have the thought too late.
Yep. And it's like, well, why didn't she land before that? She's probably been in storms before.
She doesn't know.
But she doesn't know this extent.
The storm of a plain is different than the storm of a mountain.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, the wind is different on a plain than it is if you are in mountains. It cannot. There's a reason there are no tornadoes where we live, because we live in a valley.
Yep.
The winds literally cannot pick up and hit. Like, they can get, we've had hard winds.
Yeah,
that can happen. But they can't move the way like a tornado needs to form.
Yep, absolutely. And it's also like when a giant ripple raced towards them through the grass, flattening it. So literally, this wind is so strong, it is pushing all that grass they saw to the ground, creating a very noticeable ripple coming towards them.
Yeah.
So like, this is strong. This isn't like the winds they've been facing so far.
Like
this is different.
Saphira like makes it to the ground, but she can't fold her wings in.
Yep.
Like
not in time.
Like an umbrella.
Yeah.
She's caught. Like she physically cannot fold her wings in, and it keeps ripping her back into the air like a kite you can't control.
Yep.
And he like yells to her again, "Saphira, try to stay on the ground. I'm coming." He felt a grim acknowledgement from her, and he like gets the mare to go as close as they can. But when it starts to like get freaked out, Eragon leapt down and ran towards her.
Yep.
And it's
terrifying.
It's so scary.
It's very
unexpectedly scary.
Yeah. And I think, like, kind of just briefly, I think Saphira is also really smart, because when she lands, she doesn't land with them because she knows she's not going to make it. She goes back the way they came, trying to beat the wind. And I really like that. Yeah, like she angles back. And then she does land, but then folding the wings and the wind catches her. And I really, really like the image of the wind reached her just as she started to fold her wings. With an angry yank, it unfurled them and dragged her into the air. For a moment, she hung there, suspended by the storm's force. Then it slammed her down on her back. And it's like, how terrifying that is, especially for Eragon, for Saphira, 100%. But Eragon watching this happen, like a split second of having her just being in the air and then just slamming back down, like that's terrifying. And then it goes to when he reaches her and he's trying to help her and she has no control of what is happening, and they're both just flailing, and it is terrifying.
Yeah, Saphira was only 3 yards away, but he could get no closer because of her flailing wings. He rushed to the right wing, intending to hold it down, but the wind caught her, and she somersaulted over him. The spines on her back missed his head by inches. Eventually, he's able to, like, forcibly, like, get one of her wings inward, and she gets the other.
Yep.
The wind battled them for a second, but with one last surge, they overcame it. And then I love this all so much.
Yes.
But do you want to do just a brief reading of their conversation?
Yes.
Shall I be Eragon?
Yes.
Are you all right?
I think so. Nothing's broken. I couldn't do anything. The wind wouldn't let me go. I was helpless.
Don't worry, you're safe now. It's so simple, but like Saphira feeling helpless and like admitting, like confessing that to Eragon, where she was like, I couldn't. She's never felt helpless before.
Yeah.
I imagine even when she was a tiny little dragon hatchling looking at the moon.
Like,
she was still one of the fiercest things in that. Yeah.
It was like in that, like, she had control. She was scared of being alone, but she wasn't scared of being helpless in that situation. She had a house. She could hunt. Like, she could do these things. She wasn't helpless. But this is like, this was Mother Nature. Yeah. And she had nothing. She couldn't do anything. And it's also like when Saphira is flipped over Eragon.
Mm-hmm.
How terrifying that would be for her. Like,
Yeah.
did I just kill my human?
Yeah.
Like, how scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so scary. I think
Mm-hmm.
he does a really good job. And it's also, again, not telling us, but showing us how terrified she sounded, shaken.
Yeah, and she's physically trembling, and probably
Yeah.
part from like the physical exhaustion of the exertion, but also like just freaked out. She's freaked out.
Absolutely.
And I think this is so interesting because we didn't like plot wise. This doesn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no reason we needed this storm. We could have just we could have just arrived at the town, whatever. But I think this shows just more of Eragon and Saphira's bond.
Yep.
Like, how quickly he's like, his first thought when he realizes what the wind is, like how hard the wind is like, oh my God, Saphira. And then rushing to try to help her.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, rushing to get her wings in and them together, and just like how often their first thought is to save each other.
Yep. 100%. And I also think it's also important because we do see that Brahm cares for her as well, because when they make it back over, he goes, is she hurt? And they're like, no, she's not. Aragon shook his head and dismounted. And also, like, I just want to hand it to the horses. Like,
where are the horses?
Kadok didn't freaking run. He actually, well, I mean, Eragon told the horse to go back to Brahm, so it did. But it's like, the horse did it. Like, and then the horse, like, came over to back, like, the horse trotted back over to Eragon while he is still next to Saphira. Like, these horses are just, like, top tier.
Horses,
I love them so
horses.
much. Anyway.
I forgot to mention, like, I mentioned that in the chapter description last episode, but how when the horse is a little freaked out by Eragon, he, like, instinctively, like, reaches out to comfort it. And it's like, oh, I didn't know. Eragon's like, I didn't know I could do that with other creatures. And, like, it's not the same as Saphira. It doesn't have the same level of, like,
intelligence.
Thought. But it has, like, a vibe.
Yeah.
And able to essentially, like, vibe check.
Yeah,
so that's what he does
and
here.
I think, like, that's also just, like, because we didn't mean it, is, like, Brahm does say that not a lot of people, some dragon riders had to train a lot in order to reach out to anything other than their dragon. So that's kind of like a, ooh, Eragon's, like, very mind tricks.
Yeah, Eragon is quite skilled at this. And I think, as we talked about, he is someone who's very empathetic.
Yes.
And I would think that's something that contributes to his ability. And so, he tells with his mind, he instructed the horse to return to Brahm. And then they get back over there.
And then that's when the rain hits them.
Yeah, and it is refreshing, and I love the vibe. Like, I just said vibe, but it's like lightning lanced across the sky, flickering in and out of existence. Mile-high blue bolts streaked across the horizon, followed by peals of thunder that shook the ground below. It was beautiful, but dangerously so. And just everything is beautiful. And, like, once the sky was again revealed, the setting sun glowed with brilliance.
Yep.
Eragon felt as if he were sitting inside a painting.
Yep.
I think that's, like, lends more, like, to Eragon and his imagination, and this, like, he's an artistic nature where he, like, sees and appreciates, like, beauty in things. Like, seeing the storm clouds as cathedrals, and, like, everything is bright and feeling like he's in a painting. Like, that's not super common, like, high fantasy, like, protagonists, especially, like, male, like, dude protagonists.
Yeah, like, appreciating the scene.
Yeah.
Basically.
Or at least...
Or the view.
Yeah. Maybe not... I wouldn't say not common, because I would imagine it actually was common, and then certain writers got into it and dismissed those traits in characters without recognizing what value it held. Mm-hmm. And it just says that, like, Eragon starts the chapter thinking, I'm going to murder the Razak with my bow and arrow.
Yep.
That doesn't make him not someone who also appreciates nature and beauty and is like, listen, you can seek revenge and also think you're sitting in a painting after a rainstorm.
I mean, like, that's freaking Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
That's what I was
where
thinking.
Like, that's
our
boy. Like, I really like a YouTube channel called Cinema Therapy, and they talk about toxic masculinity, and Aragorn is part of it, and how the verdict is he is not toxic at all, because 1 minute he's chopping the head off an orc, and the next he is kissing Boromir's head and, like, just, you know, being so emotional with his friend.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's
masculinity is not actually inherently toxic.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, it's just made toxic by
people who take it and weaponize masculine traits and define them as the only thing that matters.
Yeah, you definitely said it more artistically than what I was going to say by assholes. But
yes. But
you said it better.
And we
We'll
would
stick
call
with
those
yours.
people assholes.
Yes. But like, yeah. And so I do really like the beginning of the chapter. He's like, how am I going to kill these people? And by the end, he's just like like his breath is taken away by the beauty of what the storm was before it hit, during its hit, and after it hit. He's just like so in awe of all three stages of this storm.
And what I love is also like Saphira feels it too. Like once the rejuvenated earth smelled fresh, clearing their minds and raising their spirits, Saphira stretched, craning her neck, and roared happily. The horses don't care for this.
No.
But Brahm and Eragon are also like pretty jazzed.
Yep.
And that's the chapter, and I like it.
I do. It's so good. I think it's like the storm is like written so well, and then it's also like you see again any moment that we spend with Saphira and Eragon's bond I think is so important because it's like and I think what makes it important is that they do spend a lot of time away, and there's I don't remember if it's in the beginning of this chapter or the next chapter, or maybe is it the next chapter? Give me a minute. I don't think it's mentioned in the next chapter. I think it is. They're upset, or maybe it is. Okay, I'm just going to say, what I'm going to say is this. Is like, up until now, like, they haven't really spent a lot of time together. And, like, even when they were on the farm, like, Eragon had his chores and stuff like this. And then now they're, like, not on the farm, and they have to spend even less time together because now they're basically in hiding.
Yeah.
And so Saphira has to fly so high she looks like a bird. And so it's like and so I think that's why these moments are so important, is because they are together and their bond is stronger than ever. Like, and it continues to be that way. And they still care for each other so much. So, yeah.
What are our writing takeaways for this chapter?
I think it would be, I think just kind of going along what I just said would be just to highlight the bonds of characters. Yeah. And I think, like, there are moments where, like, I think we mentioned is, like, allow your characters to bond in, like, those quiet moments, too. It's, like, this certainly wasn't a quiet moment. So it's, like, it's maybe, like, find ways to have your characters bond even in the most chaotic moments.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I would play off of that when it's, like, not, like I said, like, this chapter doesn't really do anything. Like, for plot mechanical things like that. No one learned a new skill or discovered new information. But not every chapter has to drive forward the plot. Some of them should just be for your characters. Yeah. And I think that is equally valuable.
I agree. And it's also realistic, because I also feel like they're going into winter, or they're coming out to winter. I can't remember. Coming out of winter. And so it's like, that could be like, where do storms hit? In the spring, you know? So in the spring and summer. So it's like, I think it makes sense that a storm blows in. And it just hits the realistic realism of the world. And also, like, it would be boring if they just made it across the plane without anything happening. Yeah. So it's like, throw a little spice in there. Just sprinkle a little spice.
As a treat. Yes. You can have a little summer storm.
A little summer treat.
A little late winter storm.
Yep.
As a treat.
As a little treat. And then also character bonding while you're on there. So why not? Oh, I was also going to say, like, another thing that we take is, like, also just, like, landscape. Like, or maybe that would be, I don't know if that's something to add to it.
It's funny, because earlier, like, one of the first chapters, I'm like, don't tell me the names of the land. I don't care. Yeah. But, like, I don't know, describe storms and, like, how beautiful nature looks after rain. Like, I don't know, I can't articulate why I like one thing and not the other, but I like, well, because the prose is so beautiful. Yeah. It's not just feeling like a check mark of, like, this and this and this. It's, like, playing with writing. I like seeing where the writer clearly had fun playing in the space.
Yeah, and I guess, like, you could go back to my spark of inspiration. Like, play with your space.
With your space. Yeah. Have fun in your writing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so listeners, I have an idea for what you can reach out to us this episode around is tell us a cool storm that you've seen or been in. And it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't, and it doesn't have to be, like, beautiful. It's like whatever you're feeling. Like, let us know, like, a cool storm that you've been into. I think, like, the coolest storm that I have seen recently was when I was at work. There was a giant storm coming in, but I was able to get outside, and I caught a picture of a double full rainbow.
I remember double rainbow picture.
We could put it on our
we can definitely drop it.
after this episode uploads. I can share it. But it was so cool, and I caught a video of like how bright the rainbow got, and like you could see like the rain shining in the sun. It was so
That's
cool.
So
it was so cool. So that was just a cool storm I've been in. But now it's your turn. Now you have to share. So
I got a video of a cool storm where it was the lightning was so fierce, but it was like there was no sound of thunder. The lightning made no noise.
That's cool.
But it was just and you couldn't see like the crackle, the fingers of lightning. It was just the flash of light in the storm clouds, and just watching it back and forth. And I'm like, oh yeah, those are gods fighting. Like, why wouldn't that be? Like, how else do you explain this? Like, it's like it's like giant swords of like weapons of deities clashing in the sparks. Like,
that's very cool. That's very cool.
I definitely want to tell us your storms, listeners.
Yes, absolutely.
As always, you can do that by reaching out to us on Instagram at EragonPod. We want to hear all about it, and if you've got storm pics, absolutely include those as well.
Absolutely. And then also, like, as always, let us know if you want us to share them or not. If you just want to share it with us, fantastic. We love to read about them. If you feel comfortable with us like talking about them on the show, also include that in your message, and then we'll feel free to do that.
I think honestly, if you don't say you don't want to share, I'm going to assume it's okay with sharing, because I think specifically it's like, if you don't want to share it, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise I'm going to talk about it, because I want to tell everybody about it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Please.
All right.
Until next time, listeners, she's Lucy Hart.
And she's Darien Smartt.
And this is Eragon.
And back again.